Well, hello and welcome back to the channel, everybody. My name is Dark Sage Walker, and as is the case of inevitability, today we are going to be looking at, and everyone's been talking about this particular spell. Let me first check to see if it's a signature. I don't think it is. Alright, cool. But let's go ahead and look at Glacial Getaway, because everyone seems to be in love with this spell. I'm not 100% sure that I'm sold on it, but we'll give it a look. And I think the best way to do this is going to be with this row, because I already have a pretty good idea of what to expect from it. And then because it deposits the enemy is basically right behind me. Here we go. And now my signature. Because I'm not sure I want to mess with my dash too much, but I can think of a dash I would like to use. That's good sparkling ice. Alright, so right now I'm just kind of going over things in my mind. What do I think makes the most sense? And I think ultimately I gotta go with this, just to make sure that things are alright. So one thing I'm noticing is that this does leave you with just a little bit of time where you're not capable of responding afterwards. It's like, what about... That's like roughly 8 to 10 frames where you can't do anything afterwards. Alright, well, let's not get too judgmental about that. Perhaps it leaves the enemy stunned longer than it leaves you stunned. That would kind of put a lot of my fears at rest, but we will see. Actually, you know what? No. Let's not even worry about that. We've got a decent spread of elements, let's just go. And of course, when I leave it up to the game, they put Atlas at spot number 3 because haha, fuck you. Also, the one Arcana that I came in here to spotlight is being resisted by most of the enemies. So it did a decent chunk of damage to an enemy that wasn't affected by knockback. So that's nice. So if the enemy is affected by knockback, you drag them in your wake and score a lot of hits for, although not huge damage by themselves, they add up nicely and deposit the enemies right behind you. And if you... Nice. And if you target an enemy that's... And if you target a larger enemy, it essentially just pounds them in the face once really hard, and then you're just deposited right in front of them to continue comboing. Assuming you have time for it when that happens. So, not bad. Not bad at all. Hello. Well, we're definitely going to upgrade Air Spinner. And I also like the idea of Bolt Claymore, but I also know that we've got Atlas coming up. So, let's not be too quick to jump into that. Oh, hello. Bunny ears! I'm not even using Jump Arcana. But okay, I'll take it. It's one of those things where I can probably effectively trade it or sell it at some point, depending on who I run into. I do like the idea of Family Seal. Yep, we're gonna go with that. And that's the sort of thing that I was afraid of happening, is that the enemies would immediately be able to counter-strike after your spell was done. Though it seems like the spell generates just enough hit stun that that's not as easily said as it is done. And as I said, that's something that I was very much worried about with this particular one, is that it wouldn't allow enough time between casting and... Pardon me. It wouldn't allow enough time between casting and anything else for a possible reaction. Alright, so we actually spent most of our money here. Alright, interesting. So, insofar, it's actually working kind of nicely. And it is another decent movement-based Arcana that I can really sink my teeth into. So now the next thing I need to analyze with it is how well does... Okay, so yeah, so against slightly faster enemies, that is an issue. So you gotta be careful using it against ghouls and rogues. I've also just discovered that the startup of the spell doesn't immediately break your surfboard. So you can actually use it close range against some of those bigger targets for just a little bit of extra damage. Excuse me, what the hell happened to my Tracer Barrage? Ah, crap, it's all coming apart. Still learning, but admittedly, I just found a snag. But so far so good. I'm figuring things out. Also, I accidentally went back on on something that I had mentioned earlier. I'm trying something out where I don't break any of Iris's stuff. Like, I don't think it actually has an effect, but I want to see if leaving her stuff alone makes it more likely that she will offer upgrades to what I'm currently using. Yeah, I know that looked awkward there. I just decided to kind of abort the plan when I noticed that there were... Could you maybe give me that when I'm actually using Summon Arcana? Like, seriously. And it's on sale. I mean, might as well at that point. The only thing she had that was interesting was the Crystalline Ballestra, which is going to be resisted by Freya, and will do normal damage to Rockface. I don't know, just give me the watercolor palette. Though if I end up having the money for it in the end, which, you know, there's like one room left where I can earn money, I guess, then maybe I'll take the Crystalline Ballestra. But as of right now, I don't know if it's a good idea. Yeah, I'm not going to be able to afford it anyway. Explosive Charge is kind of on the same boat. So what I really need is decent wind-based Arcana. Okay, I've got to get you out of my face. And the top hat. So hold on, do you have the wand? No, it's because you suck. Now, I hope everyone has enjoyed their last 2 days. I know in my case, I spent a lot of my time playing Monster Hunter Stories 2. See, I finally finished the main story of... I finished the story of the stories. Oh, I'm stupid. And there we go. Alright, I'm figuring out how the surfboard works. I'm not going to change my basic, that would be silly. Especially with Air Spinner being one of the best basics in the game, why would I change it to one of the most awkward basics in the game? But yes, I'm through the main story in Monster Hunter Stories 2. I'm at the point in the game where I'm starting to now experiment with different monster teams. I'm developing higher rank armor. Like, at this point, even though the story is over, let's be fair, the real game is now beginning. Like, even though Stories 2 isn't a traditional Monster Hunter game, it definitely hits a lot of the same boxes as a Monster Hunter game, and that was not entirely intentional, but I wanted to do it to show you that there was a possibility there, and also the stakes of running said possibility into the ground if you aren't being careful with what you're doing. Like, you know, if you happen to be talking about Monster Hunter Stories 2 while you should be focusing on trying not to die. But, moving on. Alright, so one thing I'm noticing that you can do with Glacial Getaway is that you can just string enemies along and get them all in one place to do terrible things to them. You know, such as, you know, serve them a court summons for child support hearings. So, right now, and I know it looks like everything is just going to pot, and I'm just being super embarrassing, but the point that I'm getting at here is that you've got a very interesting Arcana that has a decent amount of risk, but also a decent amount of reward attached to it. You just have to be really careful about how you use it, because you can end up just hitting yourself. Alright. Might go with the Chest Knights. Only problem is that Atlas will resist them. But I can think of far worse things that could happen. Grab that just to give myself a little bit of safety. Do I think that, real honestly, I could go on without taking the healing potion? Despite how the situation looks, I think I probably could. But I'm also not necessarily willing to risk it. Alright, but we're more or less back in business now, so I should really stop complaining. The last thing I was talking about is, yeah, despite the fact that it's a very non-traditional Monster Hunter game, it still follows a lot of the traditional Monster Hunter game beats. Also, I hate that room and want it to die. Oh, typically during my 2 days off, I don't play much Wizard of Legend, and that might be showing now because I am definitely not playing well. I do like the idea of Arc Sphere. Even if Atlas would resist it, I definitely see potential for how it would work with what I have going on now. So it kind of seems like with Glacial Getaway, you almost want to bonk into a larger enemy with it. Ooh, alright. There we go. That's the stuff. I love Bouncing Surge. One thing I didn't really expect from stories was how much fun I would have with it. Like, I know... Yay, smart! Oh, and now we got birds. Alright. And I'm very happy to see Dr. Song because I am getting my ass kicked with poor play. So I can definitely just give her something from my sack of tricks. Like, so I would rather not give her Bouncing Surge. I'm not entirely sure I have a lot of control over that at the moment. So strangely, the answer there was Bum Rush them. Alright! You know, I haven't tried Radiant Knockout either. Like, I don't know how effective that would be. Like, I could take that instead of Arc Sphere, but I think I want to leave Radiant Knockout for its own episode. And after doing a little bit of thinking, just let her take whatever. Well, that was stupid. As much as I needed the health, I'm now left without the one Arcana that I was really focusing on for this episode. Huh. So now I guess the question is, do I cut it there? Now that I've done the stupid? Like, I really was not thinking. Like, I had forgotten that I hadn't gotten the Glacial Getaway upgrade. Completely forgot that. I think the right answer is you just carry on and just let bygones be bygones. I mean, after all, it wasn't the game's fault that I'm an idiot. But I can give you my honest thoughts on Glacial Getaway now, which is, it's better than I thought it was going to be. Like, I thought this was going to be one of those spells where you would dash into the enemy and then they would just be left behind just to rupture your asshole, but it's not quite as easy as all of that. There is still the danger for that to happen, of course, but... No thanks. But some of the things that I did notice is that against particularly quick attacking enemies like rogues and ghouls, it can definitely leave you in a bad position. So you definitely have to be careful how you use it around enemies that are a little bit quicker to strike back. Second thing I noticed is that against larger enemies, it will suddenly transform into a power skill where you've essentially slammed into them with a frozen surfboard and you're just leaving them reeling afterwards. So that is a great way to get in on bosses, get some damage done, and put yourself in a position to keep comboing afterwards. Like, this seems like a really interesting way to... This actually seems like a really interesting way to set up a melee build, as it gives you... It's an advancing attack, so it gives you plenty of room to strike. Hate those guys. Hate them with a passion. Do I still have the hat? Perfect. And also, the idea that the Glacial Getaway can go over hits is nice. But it's one of those things you have to really be careful of, because the fact of the matter is that can put you in a bad position, and I also demonstrated that too, because, you know, I'm a genius. Is there anything here that I'd actually like? And if I still had the Glacial Getaway, I would put on the Cobalt Firestone. But because I'm a big old stupid idiot pants... And yeah, let's now address the idiot in the room as well, but the elephant in the room, which is, I am not exactly playing up to my normal par. And some of that could very well be that it's just Atlas level 3, so everything is kind of stacked against me here. But the other thing is, I'm essentially set myself up with a melee build, and we know how melee and I get along. Definitely take that. Yeah, I don't know, I got nothing. We'll take the Cobalt Firestone. Better to have it than to not have it. Oversized needle? I don't think so. This isn't even much of a critical hit run, so that would just be a mistake. No, leave it up to you guys, though. Is the problem that it's Atlas on stage 4 and my build is kind of all over the place right now, or is the problem that I'm a big old idiot? Or perhaps a combination of the two factors. But I think I see why people have been praising Glacial Getaway, and I will say now, yeah, I like it more than I thought I would. It actually does a pretty decent job of not only kiting enemies, but it's a great lead-in for bosses too, which is something I hadn't quite expected from it. Like, I thought that the idea that it stopped dead in its tracks when you hit a larger target was going to be a problem. But because it does such heavy damage, which means it does heavy stun to bosses, and then lets you follow up, it's actually much better than I gave it credit for. So, because I'm a big old stupid idiot dance, though, I'm probably going to have to do another episode of Glacial Getaway. Not that that's the worst thing in the world. But second time around, I can probably try something a little bit different, like going in with an orbital, like either Volt Pinball or Cardus Prime, and seeing how that works. I'm not lost. I had an idea where I was going the whole time. I'm not lost. You're lost. Okay, so let's drop this, grab that. Interesting. Oh, there's Burb upgrade. Alright, so just infinite tracer barrage. Fuck your face, I've got tracers. So even though I am a little bit miffed that I made such a big mistake, I think it was worth it because it gave me an idea of what sort of build I would want to use. I would want to use for Glacial Getaway, and I think that's worth quite a bit in and of itself. Nice. And it also kind of reteaches me to go into some things with an open mind. Because I was thinking, oh, this is gonna... Glacial Getaway is gonna suck. And I'm gonna be stuck with a spell that I don't really know how to use. And I'm not going to like the idea of it. And that ended up not being the case. Glacial Getaway is actually a really well done, kind of like melee movement arcana that I can get next to. Like, they actually managed to work around the idea that it drags mooks with you. But then designed it so that making it stop at larger targets wasn't a detriment. Like, it's actually very interesting what they managed to do with that arcana, and I give it full marks. Like, I'm not going to call it like a top tier spell, but it's definitely good. Like, I'll definitely say it's a high tier spell. Which is definitely more than I was thinking it was going to be originally, not gonna lie. Okay, even if Megalodon Tooth only activated the one time, it's still activated when it was awesome. There we go. Alright, so even though we made a big stupid, it was still a victory. And now that I've experimented with Glacial Getaway and know basically what it does, now I can try to do a run where I build around the bad boy, and we'll see what we get from that. Although the only signature orbital that I can think of is Volt Pinball, so when we come back, we're going to do a Glacial Getaway Volt Pinball build. And I'm hoping that that's as interesting and fun as I think it's going to be. Like, I really honestly think that's going to be very interesting, so yeah, we're going to try that out. We're going to make Silver Surfer eat his heart out, and yeah, I hope you guys had fun with this. I might have made a mistake, but hey, I managed to pull through. And that's all I've got, so thank you guys very much for watching. I appreciate your continued support. Do the YouTube usual song and dance. Like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell icon. I don't know why YouTube thought that was a good idea, or rather why Google thought that was a good idea, because that's what... I mean, I don't know if anyone else has the same thought process, but I kind of thought that what the bell icon does, that's what was supposed to happen when you subscribe to a channel! Anyway, my own fury aside, let's also not forget that Wizard of Metal is coming up, so I want you guys to vote for which form the Wizard of Metal should take next. And also don't forget to keep dropping submissions for Wizard of Metal. I'm very interested in what metal songs you guys have been listening to and what you take interest in, and I very much enjoy reviewing them because, let's face it, I love music. And that's it. I'm rambling at this point, so again, thank you guys very much. My name is Dark Sage Walker, and I will be seeing you